Good afternoon, everyone. It's Monday, Moon Day. And per usual, we're going through our daily divination, right? Just to see what the spirits have to say for us today. And the first card, the very first one that they pull for us, is the Two of Clubs. But before we get started in that, hello, my loves. I am the love goddess of the Hoodoo Shoppe, your great mother that has conjured and created everything that you see within the Hoodoo Shoppe and under the Love Goddess brand. I want you all to indulge today. As you all know, we are still in Mercury retrograde right now, or at least on this particular day we are. When this episode is released, we may not be. Who knows? Maybe we'll all be in better spirits by then. But in the meantime, the first card that comes out is the Two of Clubs. And the Two of Clubs is a card for discussing ideas, two people having a conversation. It can represent arguments, it can even represent studying, right? Either way, it represents utilizing our resources to gain more knowledge, right? The Two of Clubs is a card that reminds me of conversation being had. Sometimes between you and another, sometimes between yourself and the ancestors, so on and so forth. But in this particular case, the ancestors bring out the Two of Clubs to discuss possibly the way that we talk with ourselves, right? A lot of times, we are doing a lot better than we give ourselves credit for. That is the God's honest truth. Doing this job, being a priestess, having conversations with the Agungun and the ancestors and the Loa and the Orisha on a regular daily basis at this point, right, has truly shown me that mankind is a lot less patient with themselves, with ourselves, than the spirits who created us, the ones that we are modeled after, right? And that's what the Agungun talk about today. They talk about how they need us to be more patient with ourselves. They need us to be kinder to ourselves. Because we are doing a lot better than we give ourselves credit for. Just because things are not going the way that you thought that they would or the way that you feel like they should doesn't mean that things are not going to work out in your favor. I want you all to remember that. Do not allow for doubt, for fear. If you caught our episode number 5, excuse me. If you caught our episode number 5, dealing with grief and with fear, we talked about how we often manifest a lot of the doubts and the fears that we have, and we mistake them for divine messages from the Agungun, when in actuality they are manifestations of our own creation, meaning that we often create the fear that we end up believing. And with that being said, that's what the ancestors talk about today. They talk about how we need to take time to be kind to ourselves. We need to remember that this is a period of time where we are grieving loss and death. And speaking of death, the next card that comes out is the Nine of Hearts in reverse. And the Nine of Hearts it can be a literal card of heartbreak. For those that love and love hard, and I mean love really hard, the Nine of Hearts can be a devastating period of time for you because it represents divorce. Um, a lot of times when the Nine of Hearts comes out, it talks about the fact that you have been through a lot of uh, death, emotional death, relationships ending, friendships, romantic relationships, relationships with family, all of those things. All of these are things that we are currently dealing with and having to face. And they can be really hard. They can be extremely painful. But normal and often necessary. Allow yourself to grieve during this time. I think that we often attach a lot of shame to grief because there's that confusion of, if they treated me so bad, why does it hurt my feelings, right? And often it's because you have a good heart. You could not possibly imagine someone doing the things to you that you would have never done to another human, right? And that leads me to our conversation about boundaries. You all know, if you started with our first episode and you're all the way here to the sixth, then you know that we have been discussing boundaries for quite some time during Mercury retrograde. That's been one of our largest lessons to date at this point, is boundaries. Um this Nine of Hearts is a reminder that you don't have to give anyone anything. You don't have to be the shoulder to cry on, the understanding friend. You don't always have to be the one that's messing up. You don't. It's not always your fault, right? Shame and accountability cannot exist in the same place. But a lot of you, a lot of us will sit here and absorb the accountability for a situation that took two, right? Meaning, sometimes when you all fall out with friends, it takes you a minute to actually accept that that person was not a good friend to you. You'll take all this time thinking about how you could have done things differently, how maybe you could have opened your heart up more, right? When in actuality, the reality of the situation is that you just should have never been friends with them in the first place, right? Right. Same thing goes with family. Same thing goes for romantic relationships. It's Everybody has their flaws, and you need to remember that just because you have flaws doesn't mean that other people don't as well. And it's okay for you to acknowledge and recognize not only your problems, but other people's problems, and move on. So don't take so much time to ponder on things, to think about them so deeply, because thinking about things too deeply is how we end up hurting our own feelings, right? You don't always need to know why this person treated you like this. You don't always need to know what someone actually thinks of you, because not only could their opinion be a projection, right? It could also be completely ill fitted. Sometimes people assume things about you because they don't know you. Sometimes people assume things about you because they're angry with you. Allow people to assume whatever it is that they're going to assume, and make their adjustments over time. And with that time, create, I'm not going to say space, but boundaries. 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 Which brings me to our last card. The last card is the Six of Spades in reverse. You all know that the Six of Spades can represent death. It represents ill health, and the ill health brings about the energy of Saturn. The death does as well. The Six of Spades is a card of karmic payback. It's a card of it can represent the law of cause and effect, and it can also represent unemployment, stressing about money and how things are going to work out in your favor. And today the Yagungun talk about how this is a time of death. This is a great time of shedding and letting things go. This is a period where some of you are losing your jobs, and you're trying to figure out how to make money stretch from this month to the next month, how to buy groceries, how to feed your kids, how to feed yourselves, how to maintain your lifestyles. And my message to you today is that God will make a way. You have to make sure you're on the right side of karma to get the things that you need. And that's not me saying that, let me reword that. For those of you going through hard times, it's just taking a little bit longer. That's all. It's going to take a little bit more time. It's going to be a little bit harder. It's just taking time, and it's a great time that calls for patience. With that being said, I would like for you all to make sure that you are signing up for the Hoodoo Shop's in person event in August of 2024. Make sure that you're saving your seats. A lot of us need to get cleaned off, need community, need to spend time around people that are like us, around people that are going to understand us, right? And a lot of you need to come and sit with me so that you can be trained properly. I will be teaching an in person class along with your consultations and, of course, your bath time because it's called Bath Time with the Love Goddess. So I will be teaching you a plethora of beautiful things. And I can't wait to see all of your lovely faces. A good bit of you have already signed up, and I can't wait to see you. For those of you that have not reserved your seat yet, please hurry up and do so because time and space is running out. Make sure that you're going to the Hoodoo Shop and using my code LOVEBUG, LOVEBUG, for all of our first time customers and clientele, so that you may go and begin to learn and study and understand these practices as well. I love you all, and I'll see you for the next episode. Asheo.